Today on the show, we learn all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. How's it going, everybody? Back with part 2 of our series with Kirk Ballou in the self-driving Tesla, which is a blast. So Kirk is really, diving in deep to cryptocurrency, building out a product around that he gets into in the episode. But in addition to building his app agency, which is what we covered in the first episode, he's really diving in full force into this, and so we go into certainly what I needed, which was a basic level understanding of blockchain, of cryptocurrency, and certainly two different things, but intersecting, and then what got him interested, and then his business model too, that allows for this kind of overlap and this kind of deep dive into an interest, to really devote resources of time and money into it, when it makes sense like this. So I love this episode, both from learning all this stuff, but also just to see a genius way to incorporate those two things, to take your business and create a business around an interest that you have. So let's dive in with Kirk Ballou. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Jason Karoff Show. We are here once again with the great Kirk Ballou.
Howdy.
We are cruising up the tollway. He's not driving. I'm not driving. It's fantastic. I enjoy this futuristic driving. I enjoy being in the passenger seat here, getting to just relax and ask questions. It's a luxury. I love it. So I brought Kirk back onto the show because he is deep into the cryptocurrency world, right? And it's something that fascinates me. I know very little about it, and I know it's just exploding right now. And beyond just digging into it and being fascinated with yourself and even investing yourself, you're also building out products around it and all of that. So dig into this for me. Give me that timeline. You touched on it a little bit in the last episode. And if you haven't seen the last episode, I'll link to that for you. Check out Kirk's story and his company and what it's about. But give me that evolution. What's the fascination, and where are you with all of this?
So I started in March, just investing in crypto.
2017. It's beginning of July now.
Oh yeah. So just started a few months ago investing in crypto, and I started reading white papers and I'm got interested in the technology itself and what was possible with it. And that's where I just kind of dove in. And, over a weekend, we built a Slack bot wallet that can do international transactions in less than 5 seconds. And that ended up winning the Stellar Build Challenge. We got out of, it was like 10 million lumens they allotted. We got the lion's share of like 1.25 million for that.
Oh, wow. That's one of the currencies?
Yeah, it's like a competitor to Bitcoin.
Okay.
And
I'm going to ask really dumb questions.
No, that's good. That's good, because there's stuff I don't think of explaining. And so saw the investing side, got interested in building the applications. And one thing is understanding like the blockchain itself, because it's a lot more than just currency.
Right. So let's start there.
Okay.
For little old dumb me in all this world, I'm not a data guy. I'm an ask questions guy. So explain that to me. The whole concept, the concept of blockchain, and then go into how this is being used in the currency standpoint.
Okay, so think of the blockchain as each one of these computers is basically hosting a bank ledger. And that ledger, it takes more than 51% consensus to approve that ledger, right? So let's say that
consensus of what and who?
So it can be just a transaction. So
Okay.
like if I send money to Jason, we need 51% of the network to say, yes, a transaction happened before it's confirmed. And then, so let's say out of 11,000 servers on the Bitcoin network, it's not an exact number, let's say that 400 get hacked. The majority will still overrule that hack. So if you look at that compared to a regular bank, it's actually more secure because it would take a tremendous hack to overwrite that. So from a currency standpoint, with Bitcoin, you've got essentially a bank ledger that's running, and to incentivize these people running with their gaming, these high-powered gaming machines running that ledger, they're incentivized because they're basically trying to figure out a math algorithm, and whichever computer out of the whole world figures out that algorithm gets rewarded with Bitcoin. And then it goes on to the next computer to figure out a new problem. So,
well, what's that problem? Like what?
It's just a random math problem.
So, but that
right.
So it's basically, but that's how they're earning, and Bitcoins are developed in the very first place, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
So it's kind of like if you think of it like bingo, the first one to find the answer to the problem wins that pot of Bitcoins.
Okay.
Or it's the same thing on the other networks like Ethereum and Litecoin. It's the same model where they figure out the algorithm and they're rewarded. And what Bitcoin's network is getting out of that is they're running the bank ledger for that consensus. So the security model in there is, even though you might have heard of Bitcoin getting hacked, it's the network itself has never been hacked. It's the exchanges, which are essentially websites, which have been hacked, and that's where they hold. It's kind of like a security deposit box. Someone has broken into those websites and stolen the keys to those, but the network itself is,
The rest of the bank is fine, and
very secure, right?
Interesting.
And if you think of what else it can do besides currency, so if you look at golem.network, you've got access to all these computers that people, just like their phones, are upgrading their computers like every year or every 2 years. So it's a supercomputer that's bigger than any other supercomputer.
Because they're all
you got millions of computers running these ledgers across different altcoins, right? So with Golem, they're using that computing power instead of for currency. They're using all these computers for a supercomputer where it can run like Fortran. If you compare it, NASA has a 2003 Fortran computer that costs them millions of dollars, but it's outdated after probably 3 to 5 years, right?
Sure, easy.
For much less cost, you run the same computation on Golem, or there's going to be competitors that spin up.
Sure.
But you've got this computer network that's constantly upgrading itself, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's just one use where you've got all this computation power and you've got GPUs that are constantly improving. And another use case, if you look at BAT token, so that's where Brendan Eich, which is the creator of JavaScript, created a Brave browser that blocks out prying eye. Like, okay, if you look at Facebook and Google, a lot of them are tracking what you do outside of that website. Well, this blocks all of that, and then it rewards the user for their attention. So let's say a brand like Gibson Guitar wants to reward a user for feedback as you're looking at something you're interested in. So you're getting paid in BAT token for browsing the web like you normally would and only exposing the data that you want to expose. So the blockchain provides a secure way to, it's completely transparent. Like it shows on the blockchain who's tracking you, it shows what was rewarded. So there's a different level of accountability when you can see exactly what an organization is holding and how they're spending their funds.
Oh yeah, and isn't that just
Right.
at a philosophical, at a foundational level?
Right.
All of these, not every single one, but the crypto community, the blockchain community, and I don't mean to use those interchangeably because they're not the same thing.
Right.
But at their cores, it is this in the openness, right?
Yeah.
It really is. That's what I mean. They wave the flag of like, this is what we're bringing to the world: is this openness and this transparency, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's a lot of the controversy you see in governments and you see in nonprofits not spending funds appropriately, it brings a different level of accountability when they know that their donation address, anyone can look up and see how they're spending those funds, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, there's certain anonymity provided because, you know, if it's just a Bitcoin address. If you look at countries where, you know, like Venezuela, where they might say a certain citizen, you know, like they might either snoop on or seize assets or do whatever. If it's running on the blockchain, it's not something that's governed by them, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because even then, it's just out of their reach and out of their...
Yeah, so I mean, if you, like, let's say I create a smart contract on the Ethereum network, and it's gonna pay out $100 to my kid on their birthday every year, right?
Okay.
That contract is gonna fulfill what it's programmed to do, no matter what. It's running on the Ethereum network. It's deployed. It's not something like a local, like, let's say that. You know, Venezuela's the example. They want to block YouTube. Well, if you've got your like libraries like the YouTube of the decentralized YouTube, that can't be blocked. I mean, it's running on the blockchain.
Gotcha. Man, it's fascinating. It's so deep. So I want to, because I know there was some aspects to what you've built, the wallet you've built that we touched on in the last episode that I had questions about, but describe that for folks.
Okay, so we looked at, initially we built the Slackbot wallet, and then we looked at, you know, what's the state of how you store cryptocurrency currently. The most secure way to do it right now is like a Ledger Nano or a Tether, which is a hardware wallet. And what that does is it keeps prying eyes. Like, you can have a keylogger on your computer from hackers where they could see your key codes and steal your crypto. So that's where these hardware wallets are the most secure solution right now. What ours does is it's what I feel is the most secure solution to run on your phone, where we're storing your keys, essentially your passwords, to your Bitcoin and your Ethereum and all these other wallets is stored to your phone, and it's encrypted to your phone, and it's never exposed to the network. If you combine that with VPN, that's a really solid way to protect your crypto. There's right now in the market, best practice on security is not being followed. There's unencrypted keys being stored. It's kind of Wild West, and I'm pretty shocked dealing with currency, what we're seeing, right?
Oh yeah, that's why you jumped in and developed that as well. What's the other aspect? Because it's also what's the other aspect of that?
Built-in exchange. So you could say I've got one Bitcoin. I want to convert to like 3 Ethereum, right? Mm-hmm. You can do that within our app, and it makes it user friendly because, you know, even for a techie, like, that's where, when I was trying to figure this out, I was like, man, this is very convoluted. And, you know, and I was
on making that exchange.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Well, you have to go to 3 different websites. You have to plug in exact IDs, or, you know, it would just screw up. In making that all, you know, like 3 steps simple, right? Mm-hmm. You know, doing the conversions in app. So it's kind of evolved into that. And then the next step is our AI bot, which will do automatic trading for you. And what that does is it evaluates, right now it evaluates 10 cryptos, and it finds whenever the crypto you're currently in reaches an area where, okay, it's hit a peak, let's find the next best altcoin to transfer into. And there's a lot of factors. There's like volume velocity, trend analysis that you would use like on a stock market. And a lot of things we use to evaluate which one would be the best one to transfer into. And yeah, I mean, internally the bot's done really well, so we're excited about putting that one out there.
Is it one of those things though, like, it fascinates me too. Does it ruin it to an extent? Like, if everyone's just using that everywhere, is there a level of, I don't know, does does it screw things up from the market as a whole?
No, I mean, if you talk like mass scale where everyone's using the same algorithm, then yeah, but I mean, you're talking scale, millions of people doing it.
Sure.
At which case, like, I mean, there's AI bots out there already. It's just a level of effectiveness. I don't know, but
yeah.
you know.
But that's the game, right?
Right.
Like, that's the whole thing. Like putting
Right.
all those factors. I mean, that's a massive problem. So,
Yeah.
So that's really fascinating. You've addressed the security aspect, because to me, and I'm sure the vast majority of people out there, even the people that do know Bitcoin and they think of this as a currency or an alternative currency, that's the first thing you think about, right?
Right.
Because you think it's just a construct that we have, right? It's dollars and cents. I can touch a dollar, so it must be safer than this computer-based currency somewhere.
It took me a while to get there, but I'm now at the point I actually feel funds are safer in crypto than I do in my bank. If you look at how many servers your bank has versus the level of hack, it would not be cost effective for a hacker to try to steal your crypto, right? And there's even some of these crypto coins that have are making they're preparing for quantum computing, where there could be brute force hacks with quantum, and I don't know how they're accounting, but that's one of those things they're preparing for, right?
Wow.
Also, if you think beyond currency, there's like so I mentioned Golem, and the other one was Bat Token, but there's also Siacoin. They took file storage that's commonly used with Amazon and running it on the blockchain. It's a fraction of what it would cost with Amazon,
Really?
and it's more it's got blockchain security to it. Right.
Oh, that's interesting. So even on the currency side of things, so there's the safety of fighting against hackers and all of that. But what about the quote unquote safety of just the stability? Where are we in that in terms of valuations on all of these, and what to look for and when to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, that's where there's a lot of speculators. If you look at Twitter, that's what's kind of funny. There's a lot of overvaluations happening on ICOs where they look at, okay, this is supposed to be, if you look at Bat Token, a $220 billion market by 2020 or whatever it is, right? So you have people posting charts and saying, oh, it's going to be a $40 coin based on it getting 10% of the market. Okay. That's the problem. You've got a bunch of people investing that are amateur speculators, right?
Yeah. But it's just based on practically nothing, right?
Yeah. So that's where the prices can shoot way beyond where they should be. But what you want to do is you want to look at, is this a technology that can survive a bubble? If you look at the .com, the startups that survived had a use case that went well beyond a bubble. So. Right. I look at Golem Network. There's a lot of companies that can use supercomputing capacity like that, right?
Sure.
Bat Token, that's a real world use case that it solves privacy. It solves advertisement fraud by eliminating the bot and the fake impressions you would get out of standard advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And just that's how I evaluate it. As I look at not just the coin, but what's the long-term goal of that coin?
Gotcha.
Or platform.
And what's that? What are those couple of leading platforms right now that, in your mind,
so
long-term play?
Ethereum has become the development platform for crypto that a lot of coins are building based on. So that's what we're investing time in, learning Solidity and building. We've got companies coming to us wanting us to do their own tokens. So I think that's kind of the next evolution of this, is we're going to see brands that have instead of just loyalty rewards, like you might see like My Coke rewards or something where you get loyalty points, right? Well, this is something that goes beyond just saying, okay, you're going to get points that if you don't spend them with our brand, you can convert them to something else that you can go and spend. So it's I don't know, it gives you a reason to engage with that brand beyond just what you would normally do. Like if you think, okay, I'm only going to drink so much Coke every year, right?
Well, it's interesting though, because the whole point of that loyalty program is so that it stays. That's why you see the fine print of everything is not redeemable for it doesn't have a dollar value and things like that. But I think there's room for a few folks being especially the leaders, the firsts in those. That the marketing dollars alone, the free advertising through just news channels and stuff is big enough to warrant it. There's got to be a little spin on it, I think, though, to go from, if you have this currency that can get traded for other things, because the whole point of a loyalty program is so that you're spending it and staying within their ecosystem and everything, right?
Right.
But I'm sure there's ways to sort of develop that and then suck other people, from other, to have them convert to your.
Well, and if you think of it, also incentivizes, like, if you think of like travel, if you think of like American Airlines and you're earning points, it's like, okay, well, if you could spend that at any of their airports, and you've got this cryptocurrency that you can use instead of having to carry around your wallet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
Yeah,
I love it. It's just fascinating. So what are the requirements? Because it seems like there's a new currency every day out there. What's that requirement to make something even just valid enough to be real? Because you see, like, any and everybody's doing it seems like.
Right.
And then what seems to be the criteria, that the markers where people have grabbed it and say, like, okay, the community as a whole are saying, like, okay, there's some value here.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of, that's the thing you've got to be careful on. There's a lot, if you see on Twitter, there's a lot of people pumping up coins that they're either overvaluating or just there's not as much to it as what was being pumped for. You look at a unique use case. Is this coin doing something the other coins are not doing, or doing something better? Like, if you look at, okay, Ethereum does a lot of things really well, but they're, with the ICOs, there's network congestion they weren't ready for, right? Well, if you look at like ant shares, which they're calling the Ethereum of China, there's some of those issues they've addressed, like the sharding, which is addressing, it's one of the scaling issues. So they can handle more transactions per second and that kind of thing, right?
Gotcha.
So is this coin preparing for what could be future potential issues plus what the other coin can do, right?
Gotcha. So what's even the bare bones base? Like, what makes something a coin? What's the requirement? What's that starting point? What are they creating to make this? Okay, this is a currency now. Like, just the technical backbone of that.
Yeah. So they can create a brand new backbone. There's a lot of them that just they take the Bitcoin code, and it's open source. So they take that, they fork it, and they do whatever's unique to their coin. Okay. Like in the case of XVG Verge. What they did is some unique security stuff, like some anonymity features. So they take that existing code and they're like, okay, we're going to build some security and privacy layers into this that the other coins don't have, right? Okay. Or if you take Gollum, like, okay, so Gollum is taking that existing code, and now we're going to be able to run applications inside of our own version of the blockchain.
Gotcha.
And think of each blockchain as like their own network, their own ledger, right?
Okay. It's amazing. It's just a mind-blowing thing, but it's also something that's it's one of those things too that there's this community and just crazy about all this community and people, and yet at the world at large, it's a tiny little speck of people who even know what this is.
That's the mind-boggling thing. Is like, I went to a local Ethereum meetup, and they were like, well, if everyone in Texas wanted one Bitcoin, there's not enough, right? There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be created. So like right now, less than 1% of the population knows about it. That's where, when you hear about Bitcoin being a bubble, it's like, well, okay, it might be a bubble. There's signs of like the overvaluation of things being a bubble.
Right.
But just like the .coms, there's, plenty of use cases that went well beyond the bubble. So Bitcoin, you take 1% of the population and divide that into 5, and that's how many people, if everyone said, I want to own a Bitcoin, that's how many people could own a Bitcoin right now.
Wow. And so does that inherently keep that valuation up?
Yeah, I mean,
because it's limited availability?
Yeah, so the scarcity of it is driving the value up. So as more people know about it, the value of Bitcoin is going to go up. Same thing with Ethereum, where they're switching, instead of proof of work, which is where they have the mining network, it's going to be more like if you think of a savings account with a bank, where you hold a certain amount of Ethereum and you're rewarded over time for holding that Ethereum, for keeping it out of circulation. It's called Casper, and they're going to basically reward users for holding Ethereum in a account.
Right. Interesting. For what reason? How does that benefit them?
Well, there will be less Ethereum that's, just if you think of like US currency, there's less Ethereum that's going to be released every year into the market.
Okay.
So it brings the scarcity up and the value up.
Gotcha. Man, it's massive. I know we've scratched the surface.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool use cases, like people taking existing, if you look at Siacoin, existing service, a lot of startups use with using file storage on Amazon, and it's a very similar service, better, what I call better security, blockchain security on basically running on the Ethereum network, right?
Wow, that's really slick. So what's step one? If somebody wants to jump in and just start learning about this even more and even make some first investment, what's sort of step one that you guide people to?
So I would say go to CoinDesk. There's a lot of videos of like, what is the blockchain? Because I'm sure I didn't cover like enough, right? So there's all those videos of like fully understanding what is the blockchain, what is Bitcoin, all those differences. And then Coinbase is a good place to start, where you go and you can buy Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. If you want to convert between those, it's a lot more complicated. That's where I would say download our wallet in a few weeks, where you can do those conversions right on the phone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and give people, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find you?
So, touchtitans.com. And yeah, I mean, you can just, if you email us, if you're wanting to get into crypto or you have a crypto-based startup, yeah, I'd be glad to help.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Kirk, thanks so much for being on the show again.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope that helped, really develop an understanding of both blockchain and crypto. And we'll share more with the products he's got coming out, as he has them. He's right in those stages right now where he's creating something pretty darn revolutionary, and I'm excited to dig into that even more. So if you like episodes like this, please subscribe. You can head over to thejasoncroft.com/podcast for all the show notes from here. And we will see you next time.
It's Saturday night. It was Saturday night and I'm feeling kinda silly. Winter coat on cause the air was chilly, but I'ma make my way out to the record spot. Gotta find some new breaks for the beats to rock. I gotta come with the flavor like some lifesavers. On now and laters, Dr. Beatmaker. If I'm a player, it's like your tape deck. And if you miss the gig, then take a rain check. Stacks of wax piled high to the ceiling. Need a U-Haul truck if I would think about stealing, but it's not my steed, so I commence with the digging, no kidding. Something that'll keep the beats hitting what I'm getting. So much to choose from, bro.